Imagine finally getting a weekend completely to yourself. No meetings, no deadlines, no emails. You've been looking forward to this break for weeks, so you sleep in. You watch something relaxing, maybe you even do nothing. But by Sunday evening, something still feels wrong. You're not rushing around anymore. The stress is gone. So why do you still feel exhausted? If you've ever wondered why taking a break doesn't always make burnout disappear, you're not imagining it. In this video, we'll explore why burnout can make recovery feel surprisingly difficult, what chronic stress does to your brain's effort and reward systems, and why the path back to feeling like yourself is often slower and more understandable than most people realize. Most people imagine burnout as a moment or a breaking point. They imagine it as a day when everything suddenly becomes too much. But burnout usually doesn't arrive that way. It builds quietly. One demanding day becomes another, then another. You keep telling yourself, things will calm down after this week, then after this project, after this deadline, after the holidays, after one more push. And for a while, that strategy seems to work. You keep showing up. You keep solving problems. You keep carrying responsibilities that once felt manageable. But somewhere along the way, something begins to change. The work still asks for the same effort, sometimes even more. But the feeling you used to get from finishing something well, that starts to fade. The satisfaction isn't quite there anymore. Small victories don't feel very rewarding. Even time off begins to feel strangely disappointing. You rest, but you don't really recover. You stop working, yet your mind and body don't seem to believe the work is actually over. That's one of the most confusing parts of burnout. Because it doesn't just change how much energy you have. It can change how your brain responds to effort, reward, and even rest itself. So what exactly is happening? To answer that question, it helps to clear up one common misunderstanding. Burnout isn't simply another word for being tired. The World Health Organization describes burnout as an occupational phenomenon that results from chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. It is characterized by three broad features: persistent exhaustion, growing mental distance or cynicism toward work, and feeling less effective than you once did. Notice something important. The definition doesn't actually mention working long hours, because workload alone doesn't explain burnout. Two people can have equally demanding jobs yet experience them very differently. Why? Because your brain isn't only measuring effort. It's also constantly asking another question. Is this effort worth it? And that question turns out to be far more important than it first appears. One of the most influential ideas in occupational psychology is called the effort-reward imbalance model. The basic idea is surprisingly intuitive. The more effort we invest, the more our brains expect something meaningful in return. That reward doesn't have to be money. It can also be appreciation, progress, autonomy, purpose, feeling that your work matters, or simply having enough time to recover before the next challenge arrives. When those rewards keep pace with effort, most people can tolerate surprisingly demanding work. But when the effort keeps increasing, while the rewards steadily shrink, something begins to drift out of balance. Research has consistently linked this imbalance with a higher risk of burnout, emotional exhaustion, and reduced well-being. And here's why. Your brain doesn't just notice how hard you're working. It also notices when the expected return never quite arrives. Imagine climbing a staircase. Each step takes energy. Normally, reaching the next floor feels worthwhile. Now, imagine climbing the same staircase, but every time you reach the top, someone quietly adds another flight. Eventually, the problem isn't simply that you're climbing. It's that your brain stops believing the climb is leading anywhere. And once that expectation begins to change, something deeper starts happening inside the brain. This is where burnout becomes especially confusing, because many people assume the solution is obvious. I'm exhausted, I just need a vacation. Sometimes that's enough, but often it isn't. Why? Because chronic stress doesn't only affect how much energy you have. Research suggests it can also influence the brain's reward systems. Under prolonged stress, dopamine-related pathways involved in anticipating rewards can become less responsive. In simple terms, your brain becomes less convinced that effort will lead to something positive. And that change doesn't instantly disappear the moment work stops. Think about it this way. If you've spent months teaching your nervous system that every day brings another demand, another deadline, another problem to solve, your brain doesn't automatically switch into recovery mode just because it's Saturday. It's still waiting for the next demand. Almost like a smoke alarm that has become so sensitive, it keeps listening for danger even after the fire is out. That's one reason burnout can feel different from ordinary fatigue. Fatigue says, I need sleep. Burnout often says, I'm not sure rest will actually help. And those are two very different experiences. So, if burnout develops gradually, why doesn't recovery happen just as quickly once the stress is gone? Part of the answer lies in something researchers call allostatic load. Despite the technical name, the idea is surprisingly simple. Your brain and body are remarkably good at responding to stress. Your heart beats faster. Stress hormones help mobilize energy. Your attention narrows. For short periods, that's exactly what these systems are designed to do. The problem begins when they rarely get the chance to stand down. Over weeks, months, or even years, constantly adapting to pressure can begin to place wear and tear on the body's stress response systems. Researchers refer to that accumulated burden as allostatic load. Scientists are still working to understand exactly how it relates to burnout. Some studies have found that people experiencing work-related burnout also show signs of higher allostatic load, while others suggest the relationship is more complex. That uncertainty is actually important, because burnout isn't caused by a single hormone, or one brain region, or one biological marker. It's the result of many systems gradually drifting out of balance together. And systems that take time to adapt under chronic stress usually take time to adapt back. Recovery isn't simply the absence of work. It's the gradual process of helping your nervous system learn that it no longer has to stay on high alert. The fact that recovery is gradual doesn't mean it's impossible. It simply means your brain needs evidence, not just time. Evidence that the demands have genuinely changed. And that's where recovery begins. One of the biggest misconceptions about burnout is that recovery requires pushing yourself even harder, being more disciplined, finding the perfect morning routine, optimizing every minute. Ironically, that mindset can become one more demand your brain has to carry. Instead, recovery often starts by restoring balance between effort and reward. The first question to ask isn't, how can I get more done? It's, where am I spending energy without getting enough back? Sometimes the answer is obvious. An unsustainable workload, constant interruptions, never fully leaving work behind. Sometimes it's more subtle, feeling that nothing you do is ever quite enough, having very little control over your day, or carrying responsibilities long after you've reached your limit. Another thing that is helpful is to make recovery feel real, not just physically, but mentally. Many of us stop working while continuing to think about work. We answer one more email, check one more notification, mentally rehearse tomorrow's meeting. From the brain's perspective, the workday never truly ended. Creating even small rituals that clearly separate work from rest, a walk outside, closing your laptop with intention, changing environments, putting your phone away for an hour can become signals that it's finally safe to downshift. Not because they're magic, but because they consistently teach your nervous system that recovery is allowed to begin. Finally, be patient with yourself. If burnout developed over months, it shouldn't surprise us that recovery takes longer than a weekend. Your brain isn't failing to heal. It's slowly recalibrating. And that takes time. If you're struggling to recover from burnout, remember this. Your exhaustion doesn't necessarily mean you're weak, or lazy, or doing recovery wrong. It may simply be the result of a brain and body that have spent too long adapting to relentless demands. Burnout isn't just about working hard. It's about what happens when effort keeps increasing, while reward and recovery slowly fall behind. The encouraging news is that this imbalance isn't permanent. As demands become more manageable, as meaningful rewards return, and as your nervous system is repeatedly given the chance to truly rest, your capacity to recover can begin to return as well. So if healing feels slower than you hoped, don't mistake slow progress for no progress. Sometimes the most important changes happen quietly, one ordinary day at a time. If this video helped you understand burnout a little better, I'd really appreciate it if you left a like. It helps more people discover calm science. And if you'd like more calm, science-backed explanations about how the mind works, please subscribe. I'd also love to hear from you. What part of burnout has been the hardest for you to recover from? You may find that many others have been asking themselves the very same question. Until next time, be kind to your mind.